If there is class in your ass, there will be style in your piles.
Hello, welcome to episode Nintendo 64 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is John Denton. With me, as always, Chet Roivas.
Word to your mothers.
2 top 10 lists, you know the deal by now. 10 being the game we played the least this week, 1 being the game we played the most. Let's do this thing, Chet. Number 10.
Right, okay, my number 10 is a game called R. Who's That Character on the Xbox 360? It is an indie game that's also a movie quiz, so I downloaded it instantly. It is absolutely fucking awful. If you're going to make a movie quiz, at least you have to at least know your movies. I mean, it sounds ridiculously obvious, but it's offensive when you see mistakes of something that's supposed to test your expertise. The main problem with it is that there's 3 sections. There's 70s, 80s, there's 80s, 90s, and noughties movies,
right?
And you get the first chunk free, and if you want to pay 80 Microsoft points, you get the other 2. To do that first section of 70s movies, you can do it in less than 60 seconds. So after you've done it, they're like, do you want to either do that again, or do you want to pay 80 Microsoft points to do 2 other lots of 60-second shit questions? So you're just like, no thank you. There's a question in the 80s movie section about Sergio Leone's $3 trilogy, none of which were made in the 1980s.
Yeah.
It calls Taxi Driver the Taxi Driver. There's a question about something about they're ridiculously easy or they're wrong. You know, who played John McClane? You know, they're either ridiculously easy. It's like, who played John McClane? Frederick Smith, Bruce Willis, or an apple? And then it's absolutely terrible. And they're not even trying. It's the video game equivalent of a fucking shrug. Stay away.
The Taxi Driver.
Yeah, and that's not even made in the 80s either. God, it's just annoying.
Probably the polar opposite is my number 10, which is Dark Souls on PC.
Oh, yeah.
I actually bought this about 3 weeks ago on a PlayAsia deal, and they just didn't have it in stock despite it being a digital download. It's fucking awful, to be honest. Finally, they get it in stock. So download it, and Dark Souls on PC is an absolute fucking mess. Unbelievable mess. I vaguely remember reading about that when it came out, and figured it would just have been patched or something by now, but it is a blurry, Lego blocky, unplayable frame. I cannot believe it exists. That's why it's number 10, because I played like the first second of it and then tried to turn all the settings down to see. I was like, surely I can run this, but I'll turn it down. I turned it all down to low. It's still like it. So I put a thing out on Twitter to see what was going on. Apparently there's a really easy fix. Someone's just modded it to sort it out. So I'll download that, and because I quite fancy playing it again.
Yeah.
So many people go on about it all the time, and I traded it in a while back on 360, but just to have it on my hard drive. But unbelievable that it got released in that state. It was just a disgrace. It doesn't work. It was like I was running it on my old PC. I couldn't believe it.
Is there no other explanation for that? The actual game, straight out of the box, is fucked.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming. Honestly, I don't know what to do, because, I mean, I've got like a 7 out of 10 powered rig out of all you could get in PCs, I'd say, and I don't think even having a 10 out of 10 would make any difference, because my PC runs games way more intensive than Dark Souls easily, so it's just not been optimised at all.
How strange.
But yeah, apparently there's an easy fix online that it takes like 20 seconds to download, and then it sorts it all out, so I'll do that and play it this week.
Cool. Sweet. Yeah, that's another. I wish I had the time to get obsessed with that, because it is appealing, ridiculously appealing.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 9 is another Xbox Live indie game called Guns and Noses, or Guns N Noses. I'm going to talk about this very briefly, and I'm going to try not to get angry about it. It's yet another game that has been released incomplete, presumably, I always imagine, because the creator's just so desperate to get something up on the marketplace.
Right.
Most of the time, there's a game that works. In this instance, the game doesn't work, and it's actually offensive. It's the opening. I was like, this looks really good. There's 3 really nice 3D character models. It's basically a top-down shooter that looks very much like Gunsmoke. Do you remember that? The old arcade game where you're running through the Wild West town, like mid-80s arcade game.
For real.
Absolutely loved it. and it looks quite basic, but it's immediately appealing. As soon as it starts, you've got left and right triggers that it's shooting, and people just run at you. And basically, the first guy that comes to you, you just trade blows with him repeatedly, and 90% of the time he just kills you dead after standing there for 10 seconds shooting bullets into him. The only buttons you have are shoot with the both triggers. It says that there's strafe buttons on the bumpers. They don't work. It says A is action button. That doesn't work either. And in a game that's all it ever asks you to do is shoot, there's a button to put your gun away. There's so many options on the menu that when you go to pick a level, there's probably about 50, and there's 3 sets of maps. So you have these 50 options. You're like, whoa, okay. So you press, say you want to go to one that's in the diagonal left-hand corner. It flips, it completely sketches out and goes to the top. So I'm sure it's so sketchy that I don't think those levels can even be selected. It's just basically unplayable. All you can do, I tried it on hard, I tried it on medium, I tried it on very hard, I tried 10 different levels. You walk up, you walk out, a guy will come over and shooting at you. You can't do anything apart from shoot him back, and 90% of the time you'll die. 10% of the time you'll last for another 2 seconds, and then someone else will shoot you. It doesn't work. I'd love to know how it sells, because it looks so appealing. And there are some kids, I think. I mean, if I saw this and I had 240 that's the other thing. It's 240 pissing Microsoft points.
Amazing.
If I saw it, the opening 5 seconds, I was like, oh, I'm instantaneously going to buy this. It looks so good. And it is absolutely diabolically shite. It's out this week. It's brand new on the Xbox Live Indie Games, and it doesn't deserve to sell one fucking copy. There's so much wrong with it. There's even, if you don't move, if you walk up to a guy and start shooting and then move again, it will reverse the sticks, so you'll start walking backwards and moving, aiming in the opposite direction. I mean, it's an hideous... it made me fucking furious. It really did.
What's it called again?
Guns and Noses, because there's no...
Sound slash.
Yeah. Oh dear. Oh dear. That gag was better than the game. It's terrible. Fucking terrible.
Yeah, good job of not getting angry though.
Yeah, it did. True that.
My number 9 was a bit of a success, doing a similar thing. As we were setting up for the podcast, I needed one more game, so I went on the App Store and went on the free games on iOS. There's one called Dumb Ways to Die, had a little cartoon face on it, so I got it, downloaded quite quickly, and it's just a WarioWare game with these little cartoon characters. You have to do a little mini game, and if you don't do it, they get run over by a train or like poisoned by a snake. And in the short amount of time that I was playing it while we were setting up, it's actually really fun. I'm going to go back to it after we finish this podcast. I played like 5 different mini games, like tap the screen to make yourself run faster, put mustard on a hot dog. It's classic WarioWare stuff, but it was fun and funny, so I'm quite intrigued by it.
Fair play. I presume this was in the top 10.
Yeah, it was 3rd, I think, behind that stuff that steals your money, but it didn't seem to be asking for any money, and it was pretty good.
Cool. That's funny. I don't think I've played many WarioWare rip-offs, apart from the world's hardest game, which was just a little bit too...
Yeah, no, this is already better than that. It's pitched difficulty-wise, same as WarioWare, from the 75 seconds I've played of it, but yeah. Okay. It was all right, mate.
All right, interesting. Sort of. Okay, right, my number 8 is a game called Dead Ahead on iOS. I saw a lot of people talking about it on Twitter earlier today, and it's completely free. It's published by Chilingo. I forget who developed it, but it's getting really positive notices. And the early impressions are really, really good. It's a zombie apocalypse yet again, which is a little bit dispiriting, but you're a guy who's driving a scooter, and you can either accelerate really fast and smash into zombies, or you can go over jumps, or you can shoot the zombies that are chasing you from behind. Primarily, my first real problem with it was that the controls are deliberately unresponsive. You can only move up and down, so it's to avoid obstacles. And I thought, it's a really bizarre choice they've made to make it really sluggish to move up and down. And lo and behold, after about 5 minutes with it, you realise they've done that because they want you to crash, because you have to buy second chances and faster reload times for your weapons and different bikes with better. Every single thing about this game is geared towards getting you to pay for other stuff. I mean, it's one of the most blatant. I could not warm to it one bit. That people have been really kind to it today. I saw loads of 4 out of 5s and stuff reviews. I found it really bloody offensive, and then your gun takes an age to reload, and then it rushes you with zombies, and you can't kill them, so you have to buy a gun that reloads more. I mean, it's so blatant, but the control thing really pissed me off, because that's an instance where they've actually hurt the game. The game is actually far less fun than it should be because you can't get out of the way of stuff, and the only way to stop that happening is to go and buy a different bike. And honestly, every aspect, I'm telling you, every aspect of it is saying, well, pay if you want it to stop being a fucking frustrating mess. There's no variety. There's just cars and petrol stations and zombies in the road, and it just keeps repeating. So I don't know why you'd want to see what comes next anyway, because there probably isn't a whole lot of there. There's a really good game in there somewhere, and I don't know. The way I imagined it is that a developer got forced into sort of making the game this way, which is a real shame, because if that's the case, they've shot themselves in the foot. But having said that, I seem to be the lone voice of dissent at this point, because I saw so much good stuff about it on Twitter earlier today. So people seem to be liking it, but I just, possibly specific to me, but it just genuinely offended me. I was just like, yeah. Pissed me off. It's free. Check it out. Dead ahead. Really, it looks nice. It looks the part, and you might get sort of 5 minutes worth of enjoyment out of it without having to pay for anything. But after that, you're, get your wallet out.
Yeah, I can't hack all that, as you know.
Me neither.
Too old. I'm too old for that business. Talking old, my number 8 is weirdly Space Invaders on browser. Now, there's a reason I played this. It's that first game that I've ever played with my little boy. He can press the space bar, which is shoot, and I was moving the little thing, the little tank or whatever it is, and it was tremendous fun to do that. He was having fun, I was having fun. He calls a little spaceship a plane. That's all right, he'll learn. And it was a rewarding and enriching experience. And Space Invaders is actually still all right. It's it's fairly basic, but it's still quite good fun. So yeah, it was really nice to be able to do that, and I'm looking forward to doing more gamage as he gets older, and he can do more than just hit a spacebar and get bored and shout, but that's all he can do.
You've probably scarred him now, and he's only going to be able to play retro games. What an old hat game to show a kid. You should have get this. There must have been a million other things you could have played where he could have pressed spacebar. Instead, he's going to have Space Invaders fever for life.
Okay, that's a good diagnosis. I think he'll be all right though.
Okay, all right. I think you got a retro
Dr.
freak.
Chet.
I think you got a retro freak on your hands. But anyway, my number 7 is not quite as old as that, but it's still old. I think it's called Shifting World on the Nintendo 3DS. I downloaded it what seems like months ago, so it could have come out of the launch of the 3DS for all I know. It's you've probably seen it. It's black and white. And it's a platformer where you shift, and you basically everything's black and white. The floors are periodic. It's quite a nice looking game, and your guy is wearing a fedora and he looks like a private detective. So yeah, there's white blocks and black blocks, and it all looks very nice. And you press one button and it flips upside down, but it doesn't. It flips upside down. The black turns into white and white turns into black. So
gotcha.
if you're it's surprising how simple it is, and yet it's really hard to get your head around at first. So if you're standing on a white block with a black background, you'll be standing... I can't even explain it thinking about it. You never fall off anything. You'll never turn it around and then you'll fall, because something's always the floor. But things are accessible because they're a different colour. It's really...
You've done a great job of explaining it, mate. I get it totally.
To be honest...
Something's always the floor.
Honestly, when I was playing it, I thought, this is an incredibly simple idea, and I don't think I've seen it done like this before, but trying to explain it or even get your head around it, there's puzzles, really clever puzzles, where you're trying to get to a certain area, and you can only do it by going to one colour and then to another. I know, this is terrible, absolutely terrible. But I only tried the demo. There's 3 or 4 levels, and I was really impressed. I was like, it looks nice, it feels nice, and it's genuinely quite clever. I mean, it resorts to things like you're collecting keys, and there's these arrows pointing you where to go.
Right.
But there was a point where I was like, boom, shift, and I was sort of finding my way around. Once you understand it, it's actually quite rewarding. But having said that, I gather it runs out of steam after the beginning, because all of the reviews I've read, it's got a Metacritic of like 50 or something. So I think that it probably peters out after the intro. But the demo was fun. I thought it, really promising, really.
Yeah, I can't really understand anything that you just said, but it sounds...
It's on 3DS, Shifting World. Just download it. I thought it was genuinely clever, and I hadn't seen anything done like that, although, I haven't made it make any sense whatsoever.
I may YouTube it, see what go on.
Do that.
Yeah. My number 7 is a game that I was hoping I'd play a bit more of, but I haven't had a chance. Is Resident Evil Revelations on PS3, in fact.
Oh, yeah.
I played the demo of the 3DS version, and thought it was cool, but didn't end up buying it. But it seems cool so far. It doesn't look great, but it was never going to really. And I think I've been slightly spoiled by PC games as well recently. So seeing something that's like kind of a scruffy last gen game, is a little bit jarring, I guess. But I mean, it seems to kind of conform to the older style of Resident Evil, not the old tank controls gleam from back in the day, but somewhere between the slower pace of that and Resident Evil 4. It's definitely not as balls to the wall as 5 and 6, or as clumsy and muddled as 6 ended up being. For all that 6 does right, it does a lot wrong as well. This seems like it's much happier to tread the line and sort of walk a nice 7 out of 10 inoffensive Resident Evil game sort of line. The good atmosphere, decent enemies, solid combat. It doesn't feel like it's going to change the world at all, and that's, from all I understand about the game, it doesn't in the slightest. But it's kind of nice to play a Resident Evil that's not trying to be something that it isn't. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, I'll talk more about it in a minute.
Okay.
But incidentally, I thought it looked really good.
Really?
And there are other technical hitches which, if you weren't aware it was a port from a 3DS game, other technical issues would allude to that. But I thought visually it looked quite nice. I thought it was perfectly fine. I mean, it didn't look as good as Resi 5 or 6, but it still looks pretty. I was impressed.
I think I'm a little bit spoiled by a game I'll talk about later, if nothing else.
All right. Okay, right. My number 6 is Nova 3 on iOS.
Shooter?
It is a shooter. Have you heard of it?
No, it just sounded like one.
Yeah. Apparently, this is a bit. I mean, Nova 2 was huge. Apparently, Nova 1 was. Was that a sneeze?
Sorry, that was a cough into my armpit.
All right.
Hold on, let me cough it up. Yeah, all good.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, Nova 3. Sequel to Nova 2 and Nova 1, both of which were huge. Apparently, if you play a lot of iOS games, this was like an event. Because my girlfriend plays a hell of a lot of iOS games, and she was like, Nova 3, how do you not know what Nova is? And I don't think it's permanently free. I think it was just free for like a weekend. So I downloaded it last weekend. It's by Gameloft, which was encouraging because... Gameloft have done some fantastic stuff. Not so much recently, but back in the day, like the Splinter Cell games I mentioned on the first gen of camera phones, they were stunning. I played it both on an iPad and on an iPad. Have you played a game on an iPad Mini?
No.
It makes you. You're convinced that someone's going to make something that's just going to make consoles completely irrelevant. It feels so good in your hands. Really? It's the perfect size. I thought there was no reason for there to be an iPad Mini, but now I want one over the big one. It just feels perfect.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah, basically, it's Crisis, and I mean it's Lawsuit Crisis. It's a guy in a nano suit set in a New York that looks like the New York out of Crisis 2. The guns look identical. The crosshairs look identical. The HUD looks identical. The enemies look identical. Even the objective markers look like they're straight out of Crisis. It sounds like Crisis. There's a rip-off of the score. I mean, I don't know how it works. People seem to just be like, oh, whatever, it's on iOS. But you'd think they do, because it's so slavish in its imitation of Crisis. It's actually unbelievable. Having said that, it looks really nice. It's one of the most eye-popping games I've seen on a tablet. The only problem is that there's freezes and there's long loading times, and I could probably happy play. There's even online multiplayer which I tried for a bit, which seemed to work just fine. It kind of felt like Unreal Tournament, really fast and stuff. But the problem, as ever, if you're playing first-person shooters on the tablet, is the controls. And this is worse than many because I think probably more than a third of your screen, of the HUD, is buttons. So you've got all these commands, and I just kept forgetting what was what and just spinning out. And the other thing is, you can't... holding the left thumbstick or left of the screen is move, and then right thumbstick is look around. Whichever one's the wrong way around from how you're used to doing it on consoles, it's that way. And if you change it, you have to change to left-handed controls, which also moves the shoot button, which is the ball out, because it's just... all right,
that's weird.
You get used to the controls, but who wants to play a first-person shooter on a tablet? As good as it looks, I wish there was some way of playing it with the. I mean, it's impressive, derivative as shit, but yeah. I mean, if you have an iPad, I'm sure you can get it on the iPhone as well. I don't think it'll be anywhere near as impressive, but it's an impressive carbon copy of. If you try and picture it, it's Crisis on a tablet. Amazing, but why would you play it? Because the controls, and why would you play it if you can get hold of Crisis?
Yeah, but how much is it though?
I don't know. That's what I don't know. I think it was only free for the last weekend.
Right.
There didn't seem to be many microtransactions either. And I mean, honestly, when I say that it looks like Crisis, you have to. I mean, put it into YouTube. Nova 3. It's quite something. How they haven't sort of felt the brunt of EA. I don't know.
I think they do a Call of Duty game as well, don't they? Game Loft, that it's just the same. It's just exactly the same.
But there's so many of those. I mean, it'd be hard for the creators of COD to say you completely ripped us off, because they could say that to almost every military. But this, I mean, it is even the enemies look like not the Chimera, Covenant,
the Seth.
Seth, there you go. The Geth.
Seth.
It is the
Geth
Seth.
is Mass Effect.
God.
That was Seth. I've completed Crisis 3 times. Never want to play it again.
Anyway, Nova 3. It's an incredible technical feat with hitches, but why would you play it? It's a first-person shooter on a tablet. You're a nutter.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Another thing I don't want to do is play Soul Sacrifice again, but I did it anyway.
Wow.
I was travelling a lot in the last few days. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. So I sat on the trains a lot. I was on the Eurostar as well as trains to the Eurostar and from the Eurostar. So I decided to go through all my handheld games. I can't talk about the 3DS games again because everyone will unsubscribe to the podcast. So, Soul Sacrifice. I thought I'd give it another go, see if I can get back into it. It's just not for me. It's fine. It's cool. It looks nice for a handheld game. I admire its style. I admire it. It has a kind of cohesion to it that's kind of cool. But the whole Monster Hunter light action, all that matters is getting a new thing to make yourself slightly harder, but the only reference point to you being harder is more numbers coming off an enemy, which is meaningless really, because the enemy gets harder, more numbers come off it as you hit it, but there's no real visual feedback, there's no tactile feedback to actually getting more powerful. Apart from that, I think that's a bit cheap really, compared to proper leveling up in different games. You get a different weapon and it feels stronger, so that doesn't really appeal to those pleasure centres in my brain, and therefore I can't really get into it as stylish as it is. But I won't play it again now, I don't think.
Has it even come out yet?
Yeah, it came out a few weeks ago.
I suppose it's just the
it came out quite cheap. It came out, I think its RRP was $29.99. I think it'll find its own little audience within the Vita, but the Vita is just, it's disappointing.
Yeah. I did predict this would happen though, because they did it.
Yeah, I did. But I bought one for work, and it's just about paid for itself, I guess. But I mean, it's just sad, really. There's nothing coming out for it apart from loads and loads of cool indie games. So that's kind of cool.
Are any of those exclusive, or are they on other platforms?
No, they're all stuff that's been out already. Well, Guacamole's PlayStation exclusive. That's already out. But stuff like Thomas is out. Thomas is Alone. And Hotline Miami's coming out, and I think Spelunky's coming out on it, and so there's going to be loads of cool stuff on it, and they're snapping up future indie games. So I'll be happy to have one for those reasons. But you do want, it's a chunky, powerful fucking console, as you know. So you want something to show it off with. And there's a new Killzone game coming out in later this year, but that's about it, really. There's nothing else.
Yeah. It's an expensive bit of kit to just have lying around. That's what happened with the PSP. I was just like,
exactly
I can't have. Yeah. It's just that expensive bit of kit sitting in that drawer. I might as well just fucking get shot of it, which is what I did. Sad times. All right, okay. My number 5 is Fire Emblem Awakening on the Nintendo 3DS.
Sweet.
I don't have a whole lot to say about it because I was literally picking it up and I played through it just to see if it was what I want. Basically, I'm going to be on a couple of planes next week. Or the week after, I can't remember. And I just thought I want to see if this is as good as everyone says. And after 5 minutes that it's as good. If you've played one of these games before, or you've played an Advance Wars game, and God, there's something about Nintendo games that just feels like they put so much love, yes, but they feel so rich and expensive. The anime cutscenes are gorgeous.
Yeah, they're good.
They look absolutely stunning. It's a shame there's no demo, because I think the gameplay is so unbelievably rich that it would ensnare people instantly. It's a real oversight that they haven't put a demo on the eShop. I mean, to be honest, I think they should. They are bundling it with consoles, aren't they?
I don't know, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Well, they should. It should be Wii Sports bundled with every console, because it's like all those games. It's like chess but better. Everyone will get hooked as soon as you just have to try it. I've played it for a couple of hours, and it's just I can't wait to get completely and utterly stuck into it. Once again, though, the same thing applies with almost every Nintendo game I play these days. The localization is just absolutely brilliant. They don't lose the Japaneseness of it, but they give it its own kind of flavour. It's honestly, there's no awards category for those guys, the people that localise Japanese video games. They're completely unsung. But when you play Nintendo games like this, I'm just like, God, they've made it feel strangely English at the same time as not sacrificing any of the Japanese nature of it. And that always fucking impresses me. But Fire Emblem Awakening. If you haven't played one of these games, it's yet another. I shouldn't speak because I've taken it very slowly and I've played 2, maybe 3 hours. But it's just pure pleasure in video game form, and I can't wait to smash it. I'm going to smash it on a plane.
Yeah, it's very, very, very good. As I said, I think I said this, both this and XCOM, I back myself into corners, I think, and I'm reluctant to turn either of them back on because I have a feeling that I'm fucked. So, and I didn't really, in either game have I done a good job of saving myself backwards so I could go back to, 1 or 2 hours before and pick it up and sort things out. And I'm loath to start either again because I think it's probably 20 hours on each.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of stuck. Both amazing games. Obviously a very similar genre. They do different things, but I really, really like that genre, and I never thought I would until a few years ago. You made me play Advance Wars, in fact.
Exactly. I don't know why I picked up Advance Wars back in the day, because that's the kind of thing I look at that and I think, no thanks. And I think, to be honest, I think the majority of people who play video games probably look at it and think, no thanks. That's why it's annoying there's not a demo, because I think I never thought back in the day I would be playing games like this, but it's so good. I defy anyone not to love it. So if you have a 3DS, just buy it. I'm just telling you, just buy it.
And this is especially good, even for that.
And the production values and just slick as a bastard. I can't wait. I'm going to lose. So it's going to be as bad as that summer where I lost the use of my arms. When I played Advance Wars one summer so much that I couldn't. I had to. At one point, because I had my arms bent for days on end, there was one point when I was lying on my bed trying to play it with my nose. Because my joints, my elbows was agony to fucking. I had to keep them just straight, and that's going to happen all over again. And I'm happy. Too right.
To a slightly less impressive handheld game, again on the Vita. I tried out Soul Sacrifice again. I tried out Gravity Rush again. Gravity Rush is a weird one. It's like one of those games you want to like. I want to like it, but I just can't. It doesn't grip me. It's not quite, it's charming, but it's not charming enough. It's clever, but it's not clever enough. It feels good, but it doesn't quite feel good enough. And it doesn't, I'll play it for 40 minutes or something, and I'll go, yeah, that was fine, but I could quite happily never play it again. And that seems to be a lot of my experiences with PSP games overall, really. Ever since the first PSP came out, I could list a ton of games that's been like that. Like, good, you like it. There's not really a lot bad to say, and it's impressive that it's on that console. But I just can't. I'm not sitting there thinking about it when it's turned off or anything like that. In fact, I forget it exists. It's only because it's sitting there on my home screen that I even put it on, because I was so fucking deathly bored on the trains. But again, even in light of just sitting in the fucking tunnel coming back from France, I still turned it off and just listened to headphones. So that kind of says it all, really. Yeah.
I was just trying to think. I can't think of any. I mean, I love the PSP. I love the aesthetics of it. But I'm trying to think of the only truly great game that was on it. I think was Loco Roco.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. And Lumines, of course.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course, definitely. Yeah. Oh well. Okay, my number 4 is Battlefield 3.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, playing a little bit of Battlefield 3. I don't like 100s, rank 100s. I don't like them.
Nor do I.
I've played Battlefield, and as I've said, an obscene amount of times, and I've only an obscene amount of time over the last year and a half, and I'm only just past level 50. I don't understand how these people are level 100s, but whatever. They're like Freemasons. We've noticed recently that as soon as more than one of them is in the same room, if they're on opposite teams, they'll go on the same team. And the other day we were in a situation where it was us against probably 6 rank 100s. And it was, we just got completely and utterly decimated. The game lasted about 5 minutes. It was just, but I don't want to play with those people. So what we did, we got so frustrated, we ended up gradually moving one by one over to their team. So it was us and them on one team. And then we just went and decimated poor guys who were previously our teammates, and it just was not satisfying in the fucking slightest.
That's really cruel.
Yeah. Those poor guys, we deserted them when they needed us the most. But yeah, it's the ranking system is a problem. I don't know why I'm talking about the ranking system in a fucking year and a half old game, because I mean the audience is so shrunk that you should be lucky that I'm getting a game at all. It's just frustrating. Bloody blah.
Yeah. Battlefield. I've got nothing to say about that game.
Genuine. Neither have I.
My number 4 is once again that GeoGuessr game I talked about last week. I keep playing it because it's just fun as hell. Did you get a chance to play it?
I don't. I completely forgot. No.
Yeah, you should do. I think a few people mentioned on Twitter that they played it afterwards, after I mentioned it last week, which is cool, and everybody seems to like it. I can't really see how anybody wouldn't like it, as long as they're over like 7. And yeah, it's just fun. It's just something that you can stick it on and you lose an hour and a half without even realising it. And it does make you feel clever when you can identify, I reckon they're redwoods, I reckon it's going to be in North America, and then you spin it around and you go, okay, well, there's mountains there, so it's going to be near the Rockies and whatever, and then you get it, and it's like, 100 kilometres away from where it actually is in the world. And that makes you feel like an actually clever person. Great game. Apparently good when drunk as well, apparently.
Okay.
But yeah, I haven't tried that.
Okay. Well, I will try it. It's
yeah, do, man. You can't. It's just good.
Yeah. All right. My number 3 is Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. I finished it earlier today. I haven't. I'm going to go. I mean, I did like 90% of all the other stuff. That I'm going to go back now and complete all that other stuff as well, because I do find that fun. You were half right about the last 2 levels. I thought the final level was hilariously brilliant. Absolutely everything you want from a final level in a game. It was just absolutely delivered. The penultimate level, where you pick up a gun at a time and there's all those zombies running at you, I thought was one of the shittest things in the whole thing, and it just wound me up.
I meant the last 2 levels with the very final thing where you're on the thing, and the one just before that when you go out to get the thing. I didn't like that. The one where you pick up the guns is wank.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought you meant when you said, okay, yeah. In that case, I totally agree with you, because it really goes out with a massive bang. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to going back and doing it again. I mean, I could talk more about it, but I'll just be repeating myself. There was a period when I was going around and getting collectibles and stuff, and just getting into random fights, where I just started trying to sort of, not to break it, but to see how they'd saved money. And you just find out really interesting things. Like there's this one bit where I did the garrison that you spoke about that's on the waterfront. Yeah. And I went out there on a jet ski, and I got the jet ski wedged under scenery. And I thought, well, fuck it. And then I killed everybody on it. And then I had to swim back to the island because I couldn't get the jet ski out. And there was a boat there, but it was doing patrolling, being patrolled by those fucking gormless medical students that turn up when you complete a garrison. And I kept swimming up to it, trying to jump on it, and it'd flip you upside down. There was no physical way, despite the fact that you can do almost anything in the game, you couldn't get on that boat for love nor money. And I was just doing things like that, pissing around.
Yeah.
But have you heard about this expansion where you can build your own maps for it?
I heard about that. I read briefly about that today, yeah.
It's weird. It's an expansion for Blood Dragon, but you need Far Cry 3, I think. Okay. Something like that. I think that's what they said. Which is an interesting concept. I don't know what you're supposed to do with those maps once you've created them, because there's no multiplayer on Blood Dragon, and maybe it's multiplayer on... I don't know. I should have probably read further into it, because it's out today. Right. But yeah, Blood Dragon, we've spoken about it plenty. It's fucking great.
Yeah, and that last level is some gleam. No really doubt about that. It really is gleam. So, yeah, that really is gleam. And the montage is pretty good as well. Yeah. My number 3, weird one, but I'll explain why, is Dirt 3 of all games. Now, the reason I went away is I was at the Le Mans MotoGP in Le Mans in France from Thursday to Sunday. One of my other jobs that I do to pay the bills is I work with Monster Energy, the drinks company, and help them out with the gaming aspect of all the stuff they do in their events. So on the rig, as they call it, which is the big place where Monster has people come on and do stuff, we had 2 giant simulators with 3 screens by a company called Visaro playing Dirt 3. They were 40 grand each, and they were fucking amazing. I've played a few simulators before, but these were just phenomenal. Full fucking feedback, everything. You got the triple HD screens. They were the shit. I only had a few games on it, but I never actually played Dirt 3 before. But it seemed cool. But it was because you're playing on this kit that it felt like next level stuff, and it was running on a PC, so it looked like state of the art as well. I really want one of these machines in my house, but I don't have 40 grand, so that's not going to happen.
40 grand.
Yeah, they're made out of. They're fucking awesome. They're properly custom built, made out of metal. They look fucking wicked. 3 40-inch 1080p screens, bespoke PC in there, full the seat and wheels are on hydraulics and everything like that, and there's bass within the thing. They're ridiculous. We had Lewis Hamilton came and raced on it, and Valentino Rossi. It was pretty sweet.
Were they just driving into the wall?
No, they're both really good straight off the bat, which is probably a testament to both the game and the kit, because they had no trouble at all. They both did really well.
Yeah. Okay, hasn't there been another Dirt game since Dirt 3?
Yeah, there's been Dirt Showdown, but that's more of a destruction derby, arcadey type thing. I've not played that either. But Dirt 3 is Monster all over it, which is the reason that it was that game. I see.
Okay, Destruction Derby, whatever happened to that?
It's still the people that made that Driver San Francisco, isn't it?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, because it's Ubisoft Reflections now. They used to just be Reflections. They made that, and then they went on to make the Driver games.
Oh, fair play to them. Driver San Francisco is such an underrated, bloody amazing bunch of brilliance. Yeah, no doubt. Okay, my number 2 is Dead Island Riptide. Again, like Blood Dragon, I won't go on because we've spoken about it plenty. I just think it's so good. I mean, it was recently spent 3 weeks on the top of the British charts, and apparently you can sell 2 games and do that these days. So I don't know if that means much, but it's only just got knocked off the top spot last week, and it's just gone in at number 2. So it's still selling, and I think it's just that's word of mouth in action, because it's a truly lovable game, and the fact that it's shoddy doesn't make any difference, because it's just such fun, and I can totally see why people are continuing to pick it up. And yeah, we're doing absolutely everything. As I said, we're doing every side mission. We're just dicking around for the fun of it, and loving every second. I mean, again, the fuck ups don't stop coming. I mean, we get kicked out of games all the time. Party dies, we can't talk, we have to go into chat. There was one instance where Zeno picked up a weapon, statted it up for me to give it to me, some brass knuckles, and then he dropped it on the floor, and then an achievement popped, and the table disappeared, and it's 40 grand's worth of kit that I needed has just gone. There's an ongoing level up system. I think it was in the first Dead. I think it's in most of these types of games where you keep finding one thing and you take it back to this one person. They give you a ridiculous amount of XP to help you level up faster. Okay. So there's this woman back at your base who you bring her canned food, and for some reason she's glitched and she's now standing in the corner of the room with her arms folded, staring at the wall, and she won't take any food off you. And I've got cans and cans of this stuff, and I need it to level up, and she won't look at me. It's just a brilliant mess of shite. But God, it's so good. It's a shame. If you and a couple of ideally, if you and one mate are looking for a co-op game, I couldn't recommend it higher. It's pure fun, and it doesn't have all the trimmings, but it doesn't need them.
I saw it for 25 quid today.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Nah, is it worth it on your own? I don't think so. Such a fun. No, I didn't enjoy it on my own. The only reason I've had so much fun with it is because. But then again, it's the reverse for the first Dead Island. I don't know. But you can just always play with randoms, and funny stuff will happen that way. It's just you can't talk to them unless you like talking to randoms, in which case you're weird.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no. Yeah, I'll never play it, but I'd like to. If there was some like clips of you guys playing it, sounds funny.
It is.
Right, my number 2 is Call of Duty Black Ops 2 of all games. The other thing that we had on the Monster Rig, as it's called, was a bunch of PS3s with Black Ops 2 on it. The reason being is that YouTuber Ali A was over there. He's got 1.6 million subscribers on YouTube, 400 million views or something insane like that.
Wow.
Nice that, but he's a fucking amazing Black Ops player. So I played him a few times and then played it on my own a bit as well. Yeah, unsurprisingly, he kicked my ass, but it was kind of fun to go back to it actually. I gave up on Black Ops 2 because it was doing my head in after about 10-15 hours. As we all did. But yeah, it was nice to go back. It's still fun to play. And even though I was getting absolutely smashed, it was nice to see it in person, one of those people that can do that to you online, because I always assume when you play them online, they're the worst people on earth. But he's actually just a nice young kid with a lot more time on his hands than we do. Yeah. But, and also making, doing very well for himself. But yeah, I'm quietly excited for Ghosts now. We've seen the reveal stuff that came out at the odd, pretty boring Xbox One conference, but it seems like the same thing again, but nicer graphics. But I don't know. I could play a nicer looking version of this for a while. I think, especially with the slide functionality, that could change things up a little bit. I mean, it's still the same game, but they can't change it. They can't change it too much because they just can't now. It's too embedded in the culture. So, yeah, I'm up for it.
Yeah, the only thing that worried me about the COD presentation was that they've got the lean thing. And I've never... The amount of first-person shooters that have tried to implement a lean... The only time I've used it is one game. What is
Dishonored.
it? Dishonored, exactly right. That's the only time it's worked, and that was a stealth game. It wasn't really a shooter. It makes me think of Body Count. Did you play Body Count?
Yeah, I did.
Wonderful game.
What a load of shithouse.
I remember I saw that at E3 and they presented it and they're like, yeah, we've got this system where it pins you to the ground and you can move left and right. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? That was just like, we need to think of a gimmick, and it's the most poorly conceived gimmick in the history of video games. Body Count is worth playing just to see how misjudged it is.
So ugly.
Yeah, it really is. Oh, I finished that. I played through. I didn't have to. I just played through to the end because I'm.
Did you get all the way to the end?
Yeah,
I couldn't. I couldn't play anymore.
It was pretty painful. Okay, all right. Well, my number 1 is Resident Evil Revelations, as we said.
You played quite a lot then.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I'm definitely in the second half. I played it on PS3 as well. I thought it looked really nice. I was surprised that it looked as good as it did. I mean, I played the demo several times on the 3DS at different points. Again, I played it at E3 back in the day. Whatever, blah blah. The only thing that will tell you that this is a port of a 3DS game is the other technical hitches. I mean, there's doors that take an age to open, and there's freezes occasionally, and the slight there's like invisible walls. It's smaller scale in the way that the game's built, despite the fact that it looks rather nice. There's no run, which is initially strange, but you do get used to it. I like the Did you do any? Have you got that Genesis scanner thing?
I've not played very much, to be honest.
Okay, the Genesis scanner is basically like scanning something with like Samus's HUD.
Yeah.
But you incrementally, if you keep doing it, you'll not only find collectibles, not collectibles, and ammo and herbs and stuff.
Sure.
You'll also get level up stuff for your weapons and all that. Basically, it's a way to get presents. But if you ignore it, I like the fact that you can just decide to do it as you play. So if you want to just ignore that stuff and keep it hardcore, you can. If you want to make it a little bit easy for yourself, you just have to spend a little bit more time. And it's fun, it's satisfying, scanning the room for things. And it's in the same way that Metroid Prime was entertaining. I think that's actually a really good idea, because you can bitch about it not being hardcore enough, but it's only as hardcore as you make it, really. Because it is the ammo's scarce and stuff, like previous Resident Evils. It's in a weird way. It feels like a prototype for Resident Evil 6 because of the way the story keeps jumping between different characters and parts of the story, and they all entwine. And there's the third or the fourth level is like a siege on a building that just feels exactly like the Chris Redfield campaign from Resi 6, which I quite liked, but no one else did. Technically, and I'm sure this was a problem with the 3DS version, one thing that bothered me about the combat is that every enemy you fight the death animations are really long-winded, so you end up pumping loads of bullets into enemies when they're already dead.
Okay.
Which is really annoying when the ammo is scarce. That's really, really frustrating, I thought. But yeah, as I said, there's a little bit of slowdown here and there. It stutters sometimes. I don't know whether it was specific to me, but my PlayStation was making a right racket the whole time I was playing it. It was just constantly loading and wearing the disc. And if you click on something like a painting and then it says a caption and then you go away and then you forget you haven't clicked on it and you click on it again, you can't fast skip it, so it sits there for 2 seconds, which is a little bit... I mean, these are minor gripes. On the whole, the game's really, really fun, and it's much more reminiscent of Resident Evil 4 than any of the others, despite looking kind of like the Resident Evil 1 remake that appeared on the GameCube.
Love that game.
I liked it. I didn't love it, but then again, I never really liked original Resi that much anyway. It's kind of slightly not dumbed down, but I think it's the most accessible Resident Evil game, and that's probably because it was on the 3DS, but almost everything is on one button. The X button on PS3, and I'm sure it would be A on Xbox, is just... it does almost everything you need it to do, in conjunction with other buttons, but that's basically does everything. So it's kept quite simple, but at the same time, yeah, it's really... I mean, I lost hours. I mean, I did the whole... in one sitting, I reckon, the best part of half of the game. There are shootery sections, but it is a lot more reminiscent of earlier Resident Evil games than any Resident Evil game has been since definitely 4, maybe even earlier than that. It feels... it's a nice balance. My only problem is that I like the idea of playing on a handheld now, so I'll probably go back and do it on the handheld as well. But no, I mean, for a port, especially when you think back, did you ever play the Xbox 360 port of Resident Evil 4?
No.
It was like Capcom just took a piss on the... I mean, it's like they couldn't care less. The only evidence of like complete I don't careness is the original, the chapter breaks where it says chapter 1 so and so, chapter 2, that I don't think they've been touched at all from the 3DS version, so they come up blurry and out of focus and just terrible. And that's funny, but for the rest of the game, the presentation's really nice, apart from the small issues that I mentioned. But yeah, it's good if you want to sort of... Again, I was just say Resident Evil 4. It's the most like Resident Evil 4, and that's not a bad thing. But it's pure 7 out of 10ness. Doesn't do anything new.
Yeah, that's what I felt from even the small amount that I played. It was really just sticking to... happy to be a 7 out of 10. Not trying to do everything like 6.
But really entertaining. I mean, I sat down to play it for half an hour, and I ended up playing it for about 4.5. It's really... I mean, I enjoyed every second. It's pretty good. Yeah,
I definitely want to get back into it. I'm busy with another game we can't talk about at the moment, and a few other things. But yeah, I do want to stick it back on.
Yeah, do that.
So I do like Resi. I was kind of burnt a little bit by 6 in the end. As much as I talked it up a lot over different podcasts, it did end up screwing me over quite badly. But yeah, I would like to like that series again.
Yeah, it's a good one, this one.
Okay, my number 1 is a game that I promised I'd talk about this week, is Metro Last Light on PC. It was brilliantly $21.99, brand new on day of release on PC, that's why PC gaming is good, because at 40 quid or even 35 quid it might be a tough sell, but at that price I was like, I'll take the punt. The reviews have been sort of decent. I really like what I've played so far. I'm probably about halfway through, I'd guess. And first off, I was pleased. Just worked straight out the box on PC. I was like, this looks great. It's smooth. It works right. I'm going to jump into settings quickly. There was everything was on high, the highest it could go apart from one thing. I was like, okay, I'll whack that up. I whacked it up, made it seem like my computer was going to explode. I was like, okay, turn that straight off. Don't need it. It still looks incredible, and it looks fucking great. That's why I think I've been spoiled a little bit by that this week. So it really feels like next generation sort of level in terms of the lighting and the detail and the resolution stuff on the characters. Really does look the business, and it plays really nicely. I really liked a lot of what Metro 2033 stood for. I liked the fact that it didn't feel like it was made in the normal gaming system. You know, it was made in the Ukraine, and it felt very different. I liked the fact that it was bleak and hardcore in a way. It had its systems with the 2 different types of bullets and things, but ultimately with 2033 I ended up giving up because it wasn't actually that fun for me. The combat was not great, And as much as I liked everything else about the game, there was a bunch of other stuff out that I needed to play, and I ended up giving up. This, however, I don't think I will, because it's brilliantly paced, for one. It still maintains that atmosphere from 2033, but the gameplay is way better. It strips out some of the stuff that's more hardcore, more systemic, some of the currency stuff, some of the really fiddly customization stuff, but in its place it's a way, way, way smoother, more satisfying shooter that is constant. It's just really varied. It starts off with kind of an action scene outside, and it looks amazing. It's tense but actiony with the monsters, and then a bit later on it's a lot of it's stealth based, but it's quite a fast, aggressive stealth, so you can take out the lights, Splinter Cell style, but you can quickly take guys out. You do it in a very satisfying way. And if you do get caught, it turns into a good, solid shooter. Feels like COD. But yeah, the story's good. The voice acting is, but on the whole, pretty good. There's been a couple of high action scenes which one bit looked real when I was running. You had to sprint away from some people who were chasing you. Just unbelievably cool how good it looked. And I just really, really like it. I think it's a really good game. It feels like, when you watch a movie like a 3 or 4 star movie that's just a really fucking good movie. It's not something that you're going to remember in a year's time necessarily, or something that you feel the need to tell everybody about or discuss in a pub, but it's just a really fucking good movie, like a really great play movie, and you're like, man, that was a great 2 hours. This is kind of how this game feels to me. It's not too complicated. It's not something that's going to take hours and hours and hours to get into. I'm just going to blast through it, enjoy it, and for 21 quid, perfect.
Yeah. What is it? It's set in the same universe, obviously, right?
It's a direct sequel. You're the same character, Artyom. I can't, because I didn't finish Metro 2033. I didn't really know what happened, but it does a little catch up at the beginning, and that's enough really to know what's going on. And then it presents a whole new thing. There's 3 different factions. There's the commies, the Order, who you are, who are the Ranger guys, and the Nazis. I think there might be one more, but I've not met them yet. And everything about it is done well with a decent amount of class. It feels quite adult. It's not juvenile in the way that in anything that I've seen so far. It's grim but not overly so. And the outside sections where you've got the gas mask on, you have to wipe the gas mask down. They're really tense and atmospheric, and the vistas are fucking awesome.
Yeah, there was so much about the first game that I did finish the first one.
Did you?
But I was exactly the same. For probably 50 or 60% of the game, I was like, I don't enjoy the combat at all. But in a way, that became one of its virtues, because you just tried to ignore it. And that world, that's probably up there. I think that's my favourite video game world. The way that world was created, and the way it was such a character, because it was so against you. And every time you stepped outside and you started, the gas mask thing again. But you felt so oppressed by it. I absolutely. It's a game that it had so many flaws, but at the same time, I was recommending it like mad to other people. So I don't know how I feel about the fact that it's turned into sort of COD-like. I don't know if that's.
I think that's. It's only COD-like when it does break down, it turns into a shooter, and I mean that in a positive way, in that it feels nice. I don't mean it doesn't play like COD. It's not a roller coaster. It is linear, and it does have set pieces and things like that. But the vast majority of the combat sequences are slow, stealthy, tense, dangerous sequences that you slowly turn the tide of a room into your favour. It feels almost. Those sections actually feel almost like bits of Far Cry, but without as much scope. But every room, you have loads of different ways up and down, and ways of doing things. Take out the lights, take out this guy, go. It's good. It doesn't to compare it to COD overall would be unfair, because it doesn't feel like that. It still feels like Metro, but just refined a lot.
Oh, good.
Some of the rougher edges smoothed off, and perhaps some of the harder edges, which were better about 2033, smoothed off. And I think if you're a big fan of 2033, you would probably feel this has been dumbed down a little bit, but I think it's been dumbed down. It's been smoothed off as opposed to dumbed down for me, and bettered. But I'm only halfway through. Apparently there's a thing that happens towards the end which is fucking shit, so I will see next week, because I'm definitely going to get back through it all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like I said, Metro was weird because at the same time, I mean, I remember one bit when I ran up to a guy, point blank range, 2 shotgun shells, nothing, and then I'd just get into a scrap with him, and then the longer I thought about it, I was like, that was actually a really tense, unpredictable, kind of really uneasy encounter when you just want to go in and shotgun someone, and the fact that you had these rickety old shite weapons, really, that's another part of the world. You just felt like you were totally up against it. But
Yeah.
I will play that game at some
I think
point.
if you want that experience in 2033, I'm playing it on normal. It's not hard at all.
Yeah.
I think if you whack it up to the hardest difficulty level, and there's weirdly the Ranger difficulty level, which is apparently what the real game is. So say people who've got a lot more time in their hands than me, that's actually a pre-order bonus, which is weird. I think I have it on the one that I bought, which is the limited edition, so no complaints there, but that's kind of shit.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, if that's true, yeah, damn. Okay, well, yeah, I'm going to play it at some point. I'll just wait for the right moment.
I think you'll like it.
I'm sure I will. It's just that it holds such a special place, the first one, because it was really at the same time as knowing how flawed it was. I loved it, and I recommended it to the hills. But yeah, I'll talk about it when I play it. If I do, you know what I mean.
Real talk.
Okay, well, yeah, that's us finished, done. I was trying to. That's us done. I always said I thought I'd try and change it. I say finished, and now I've just said finished. It sounds wrong, so I said done again.
You've done well.
Yeah, I know. To talk, I can't talk.
All right, check us out on Twitter at John Denton, at Chet Roivas, at Chet and Johns. Check out the website if you want. There's no point. Check out the YouTube at Chet and John. Hit us up on Facebook, please. If you've got any ideas for games that you'd like us to play or talk about, then drop us a line on Twitter. Always, we need to fill out a list. Can you tell? So any help on that or any suggestions is welcome. And we say this every week, but if there's any chance of dropping a review on iTunes, it really massively helps boost our iTunes rankings in a weird and slightly, unusual and perhaps broken way. But regardless, that's how iTunes seems to work. So if you like the podcast and you want to help us out, we'd really appreciate that. Thank you very much for listening, and we will catch you next week.
Take it easy.
Chowser.
Hey, who's there? It's you, Tom. Let me get some rest, will ya? It'll be my